Good morning and a warm welcome to one and all to the Indian Council of Social Science Research ICSSR sponsored 10 days virtual workshop on research methodology in social sciences organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Bansanga's SM Shetty College of Science, Commerce and Management Studies Powai. I am privileged and honored to extend a cordial welcome to our esteemed dignitaries, Dr. P. Subramanya Yadapadidaya, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University, our chief guest and keynote speaker for today, Sri B.R. Shetty, Chairman, Power Education Committee, Sri Ratnakar Shetty Mundkur, Vice Chairman, Power Education Committee, Sri Vasant N. Shetty Palimar, Vice Chairman, Power Education Committee, Sri C.S. Uttam Shetty, Secretary, Power Education Committee, Sri C.A. Jagadish Shetty, Treasurer, Power Education Committee, Dr. Sridhara Shetty, Principal, Bansangas SM Shetty College, Powai, Dr. Sandeep Singh, General Manager, Academics and Administration, Dr. Liji Santosh, Vice Principal and IQAC Coordinator, Professor Sandisha Shetty, Vice Principal and HOD, Department of Accountancy and Financial Management, coordinators of various programs, and all my dear colleagues and participants who have joined us from various colleges across India and the globe. I hope that you all are safe and doing well. Research is part and parcel of life, a tool for building knowledge and facilitating learning, a means to find, gauge, and seize opportunities, and it is the hallmark of a progressive, result oriented, and academic centered innovative institution. The ICSSR, that is the Indian Council of Social Science Research, is an autonomous organization. It was established by the Government of India in 1969, and ever since its role and functions has constantly been growing. The major objectives of this center are the promotion of research in social sciences, the imparting of training in research methodology to those aspiring to undertake research, and the exposure of young social scientists and research to the benefit of the expert knowledge of specialists, not only from the Western region, but also from the rest of India and abroad. We are deeply indebted to the ICSSR for funding this research methodology workshop. Bansangas SM Shetty College of Science, Commerce and Management Studies was established in 2008 by Bansanga, Mumbai. It is committed to promote and propagate quality education with excellence. The college offers 6 UG and 3 PG programs with more than 2,500 students on roll. The college also has a PhD research center approved by University of Mumbai. The vision of our college is personality development for nation building. The college has been accredited A grade by NAC in the very first cycle and is permanently affiliated to the University of Mumbai. Our college is the proud recipient of IMC Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Certificate of Merit 2019. It has also received the Arogya Healthy Workplace Award and Education Excellence Award by Indus Foundation, Hyderabad and New Jersey. We are one amongst few colleges to be ISO 21001 2018 certified, which is exclusively for educational institutions, and it has been certified by TÜV Germany, an international certification body. This ISO 21001 certification is intended to ensure that education providers are offering the highest quality instruction available to its learners. It has been a constant endeavor of our college to promote holistic research. This academic year, we have conducted 3 national-level multidisciplinary e-conferences where over 200 papers were published. It were on the following themes. The first one being pandemic-induced creative disruptions, issues, challenges, and prospects. The second one was on the theme economic, ecological, and entrepreneurial innovations and development in post-pandemic era, issues, challenges, and prospects. And the third one was on the theme changing trends in information technology, media, and management, post-pandemic challenges and prospects. The workshop of research methodology on social sciences is designed to impart knowledge for specific scientific research, to integrate qualitative and quantitative approaches in research, and to orient the young researchers the new advanced techniques for precise, rational, and scientific approach. The contents of the workshop will be beneficial to scholars and academicians to enrich their developments in theoretical tools and empirical methods. To make this morning a blessed one, let us invoke the blessings of the Almighty by kindling the lamp of knowledge and wisdom. I request our dignitaries to light the ceremonial lamp.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
I request Principal Dr. Sridhara Shetty to deliver the welcome address.
At the very outset, good morning and cordial welcome to one and all. Respected keynote speaker and the chief guest of this research methodology program, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, Professor Subramanya Edipadithaya sir, the Chairman of Bioeducation Committee, Mr. B.R. Shetty, Vice Chairman, Mr. Ratnakar Shetty Munkur, Vice Chairman, Mr. Vasanchan Shetty Palimar, Secretary, C.S. Uttam Shetty, Treasurer, C.A. Jagdish Shetty, General Manager, Academics and Administration, Dr. Sandeep Singh, Vice Principals, Dr. Liji Santosh, and also the IQAC Coordinator, Vice Principal, Professor Sandesh Shetty, all my colleagues and participants across India and from the globe. Once again, cordial welcome to all of you. Of late, the higher educational institutions are highly orienting and focusing on research and publication of the papers. Even the FX institutions of higher education, University Grant Commission and NAC also insisting on research and publication of quality papers. Even NAC, one of the criterion is research, because research is reflective of the academic credentials of such institutions. And as rightly said by Mr. John, research is the hallmark of academic centered institutions. Doing research and publication of research papers will not take place overnight. A host of factors must be favorable for this. There should be clear orientation for the research aspirants, conducive and congenial environment, learning environment. And if these factors are provided, I think even India can also produce quality research. And this quality research has cascading effect in the sense that teachers will percolate that one even to the classrooms, and they can cultivate the spirit of research even among the students. Now, the intention of this 10 days research methodology program or workshop is that as head of the institution, we know, or I know, that initially the research aspirants find it very difficult to penetrate into the field. And they find it extremely difficult to select a topic from their domain area. They cannot understand the nitty-gritties of research. They cannot understand the technical details of the research. Therefore, the policy makers, government bodies, and institutions, universities are taking keen interest to orient hundreds of thousands of such aspirants. That's why research methodology workshop is quite imperative. Now, for example, the PhD aspirants, they find it extremely difficult how to identify the research problem. What do you mean by the theoretical background? How to develop the research objectives and hypotheses? What do you mean by research methodology? The questionnaire and the relevance of the statistical tools and methods. How to interpret the data? How to write a PhD? I think clear-cut orientation is very much required. If the research aspirants, they attend some qualitative research methodology workshops continuously, I think these research workshops will definitely address most of their problems. Therefore, this research methodology workshop will act as a guiding force, or it will provide a clear roadmap to them how to go about. Now, coming to today's research methodology workshop, we are highly thankful and indebted to Western Region Indian Council of Social Science Research for funding this research methodology workshop. And this research methodology workshop is stretched to 10 days. Every day there would be 3 sessions of 1.5 hours. It means 4.5 hours. And there would be 30 sessions. 30 sessions are developed in such a way that almost all the areas of research covered. And we have invited 18 resource persons from different areas across India. I think when these experts deliver in their respective area, definitely at the end of the session, after 10 days, definitely this is going to address most of the problems of our research aspirants. In this context, I may fail in my duty if I do not take the name of Dr. Smita Shukla, the head of Western Region ICSR Bombay. Because of some work she could not attend today, and she is going to attend this program at the valedictory function. Today's keynote speaker is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, Professor Subramanya Edapadithaya. Subramanya Edapadithaya has guided more than 25 research scholars and nearly half a century paper presentations, publications in the national and international repute. And Sir has did the postdoctoral from Nottingham Business School, Nottingham, Trent University, England. And Sir is considered as the highly rated teacher, an excellent researcher, a seasoned administrator, and some of the students are already there in this session. Sir, I take this opportunity to extend a cordial welcome you from Bansanga's SM Shetty College of Science, Commerce, and Management Studies. Sir, I welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My management is always supportive, encouraging all the academic activities, and especially the academic activities. Not only supporting, they're always present in the functions. I extend a cordial welcome to our chairman, Mr. B.R. Shetty. Sir, I welcome you.
Thank you.
I welcome our vice chairman, Shri Ratnakar Shetty Munkor. Also welcome Vice Chairman, Mr. Vasant Shetty Palimar. Sir, I welcome you. I welcome our Secretary, C.S. Uttam Shetty. Sir, I welcome you. And also I welcome C.A. Jagdish Shetty, Treasurer, Power Education Committee. Sir, I welcome you. I welcome our General Manager, Academics and Administration, Dr. Sandeep Singh. I welcome you. Also, I welcome our Vice Principals and IQS Coordinator, Dr. Liji Santosh, Professor Sandesh Shetty, all my coordinators, my technical team, and my teachers and students. In fact, there is an overwhelming response to this research methodology workshop. I think they will join to the technical sessions afterwards. Yesterday evening, it was around 473, especially from northern part of India and southern part of India. And I take this opportunity to extend a cordial welcome to you all for positively and qualitatively responding to our invitation. I welcome you. I definitely promise you and assure you that by the end of the research methodology workshop on 28th evening, I think definitely our participants will be enriched as far as research methodology is concerned, and there will be many takeaways. I wish this research methodology a grand success. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I invite Professor Sandesha Shetty, Vice Principal and HOD, Department of Accountancy and Financial Management, to introduce our chief guest and keynote speaker, Dr. P. Subramanya Edapadithaya, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University.
Morning. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our guest of honor, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, Professor Dr. P. Subramanya Edapadithaya. Sir is a gold medalist in MCOM from Mangalore University. Sir has obtained PhD degree from Mangalore University in the area of consumer behavior. Sir has done his postdoctoral research at Nottingham Business School, Nottingham Trent University, England, on HRD policies and practices across national study of India and Britain under the Commonwealth Fellowship Scheme. Sir has published more than 46 research papers in reputed national and international journals. Sir has received an international award entitled eLearn International Award 2003 from Scotland, UK, for his best research paper on trends and status of corporate e-learning and Indian experience. Sir has guided more than 21 PhD scholars. Sir has worked as professor, trainer, and consultant at National Institute of Training for Industrial Engineering, that is NITI, Mumbai. Sir has held several important positions such as finance officer, registrar evaluation, and registrar in Bangalore University before becoming the vice chancellor of the Bangalore University. Sir is a member coordinator of NAC peer team. Sir has also served as the nodal officer for Karnataka State University Ranking Framework, institutional coordinator for RUSA, and coordinator of Internal Quality Assurance Cell. Considering Sir's immense contribution to the academics and research field, Sir has been awarded the prestigious Devang Mehta National Award for Best Teacher in Human Resource Management in the year 2009. Currently, Sir is a Vice Chancellor and Senior Professor of Commerce, Bangalore University. Sir, we are indeed honored to have you amongst us. Our participants are eager to listen to you, and I'm sure every one of us would have many takeaways from today's session. Sir, we welcome you to guide us and enlighten us from your rich and diverse experience. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandesh sir. I now request Sri B.R. Shetty, Chairman, Power Education Committee, to address the August gathering.
Good morning to everyone. Today, Chief Guest, Dr. Subramania Edapadithaya, my colleagues in Power Education Committee, Sri Ratnakar Shetty Munkur, Sri Vasant Shetty Palimar, my secretary, C.S. Uttam Shetty, treasurer, C.A. Jagdish Shetty, Dr. Sandeep Shetty, principal, Dr. Sridhar Shetty, vice principals, professors, all the participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am highly delighted to be amongst the academicians and researchers in this program. This workshop on research methodology is an annual feature of our internal quality assurance cell. This year, research methodology program is sponsored by the prestigious Western Regional Center, Indian Council of Social Science Research. And we at SMCT College are honored with this funding opportunity offered to us for conducting 10 days national level virtual workshop. We express our gratitude to Dr. Smita Shukla for funding this research program. Another highlighting feature of this workshop is that it is being inaugurated by highly respected Dr. Subramania Edapadithaya, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University. Sir, your presence in this occasion is highly acknowledged, and we are honored to have you amongst us today. We are indeed grateful to you for accepting our invitation for inaugurating this workshop. Your presence is an inspiration for the ambitious and aspiring researchers of tomorrow. Higher education is a very important sector for the growth and the development of human resource, which can take responsibility for social, economic, and scientific development of the country. The higher education system in India has grown in a remarkable way, particularly in the post-independence period, to become one of the largest systems of its kind in the world. Research in higher education is an inseparable part of its growth. Social science research is a very prominent part of research in India. As research is the hallmark of our nation's progress, we believe in promoting research in our campus and the part of a progressive nation. At our college, we promote research in every possible way. We have an active research cell to promote research and cultivate research culture among the faculty and students. Our teachers and students are involved in research activities and engaged in publishing research papers. Many of our teachers are resource persons at various forums, and also several young teachers have registered for pursuing PhDs. This workshop is open to all research aspirants across the nation. We are happy to have very high number of participants who registered for the workshop. In conclusion, I acknowledge the efforts of the Internal Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC, and wish all the participants very joyful learning session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I now request our chief guest, Dr. P. Subramania Yadapaditaya, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University, to deliver the keynote address.
Okay, very good morning to all of you. Esteemed and most respected Chairman of POA Education Committee, Sri B.R. Shetty ji, Principal Dr. Sridhar Shetty, learned resource persons, and distinguished participants who joined on the virtual mode. I really congratulate and commend the efforts of the organizers of this WRC ICSSR sponsored 10 days virtual workshop on research methodology in social sciences. At the very outset, research means research. Search it again and again until you succeed. But the problem here is, more often than not, we are searching a black cat in a dark room, and eventually it will not be there. So when the research problem is clearly identified and defined, 50% of your problem is solved. But unfortunately, we are unable to clearly identify and define the research problem with a sense of purpose, pride, and direction. As a matter of fact, research should be systematic and scientific. That means invariably we have to adopt a systems approach. Systems approach talks about 5 important subsystems. The first subsystem is inputs, what we are getting in. It may be data, information, knowledge, wisdom, whatever it is. So inputs. Inputs will have to be transformed into usable components. It means transformation process is the second subsystem of the system, research system. The third component is we are getting the output. When you are pursuing your doctoral research, the output is nothing but your voluminous PhD thesis, maybe running to 400 pages or sometimes even higher than that volume. So that is the output. Then the last component or the subsystem of the research system is outcome. Today, outcome is more important than the output. And there should be synergy, positive synergy among all the 4 important components. It means inputs, transformation process, output, and the outcomes. National Education Policy 2020 talks about outcome-based education. It means PhD is not for just acquiring this 2.5-letter word PhD. Real research will begin after obtaining your PhD. So it means what are the outcomes of pursuing doctoral research? So it means today we talk about evidence-based and research-informed medical practice, nursing practice, human resource development practice, or any form of governance, whether it is managing a college or any higher education institution or a university. It should be evidence-based and research-informed. So documentation is very, very important. So in that context, research is also documentation loaded one. So ultimately, three things are very, very crucial for qualifying any doctoral research as useful to the society at large. The first one is reliability. Reliability of the data, data collection process, the rigorous research methodology, or a wholesome research design. So it should be reliable. Then the validity. It should measure what it purports to be. So it should be validity oriented one. Then the third one is acceptability. Your research contributions must be acceptable to the peer level researchers, to the policymakers, the other academic bodies, or other, we call it in a very short form, community of practice, COP. So reliability, validity, and acceptability. So all said and done, there should be a rigorous research design. Research methodology is only an integral part of a wholesome, a bigger, a broader research design, because research design consists of almost all aspects, starting from the conceptual framework, the review of literature summary, then identification of the research gap, definition of the research gap, and so on and so forth. So it means people are under the wrong impression that there is a single, wholesome, always acceptable, robust research methodology. Because normally research scholars and research supervisors will lay their hands on certain research methodology reference books. Whatever you do, the hard truth or the naked truth is there is no straitjacket or one size fits all research methodology framework. So it means we have to accept variability of the research methodology. Research methodology will give you only broad framework as to what is the nature of this research study, how do you collect research data, whether it's primary data or the secondary data, or you're adopting a blended approach, a combination of secondary and primary data. Then the research collection instruments like questionnaire, the administration of the enumeration process, the sampling techniques, sample size, sampling procedure, and whatnot. Then statistical tools and techniques used to analyze the findings, interpret the findings, and your ability to draw inferences, and eventually the conclusions, which will talk about the entire story behind your research design. But ultimately, the truth is there is no only one research methodology applicable to all kinds of research in this world. Therefore, let us accept flexibility as the virtue, imagination, creativity, and innovation while designing and developing your research design or research methodology will assume a lot of significance here. Normally, while adjudicating PhD thesis, we focus on whether the research methodology is innovative or it is only beating around the existing thing. So it means research methodology is always country specific, culture specific, and context specific. And based on my small research experience, I must confess that we must always encourage refutative research rather than repetitive research. Refutative research will always question false dogmas, challenge false dogmas, and highlight the real facts and the truth acceptable to the society at large, which will be relevant. It means normally we say it should be locally relevant and globally competitive. So that means the research must be useful to the research community and the public policy makers. Normally, the tendency is to copy things, particularly in this ICT world. Most of us are all digital natives. Because of this tendency, we are always tempted to airlift certain things from the article or some papers or some sources without acknowledging the sources or properly documenting those things. So it amounts to plagiarism. Normally, higher education institutions are installing anti-plagiarism software. Before the candidate submits the thesis, it should be cleared through the rigorous process of verifying the extent of plagiarism contained in the PhD thesis. Normally, we have got Urkun software, and we have got a more robust software like Turnitin. Likewise, a PhD thesis should be clear through the anti-plagiarism software verification process. Then normally we want to know what is the original contribution of your PhD thesis. So originality will be reflected in the form of the results, discussion, and inferences drawn. While doing the review of literature based on my education experiences all these days, I can tell you more often than not, most of the research candidates will conduct survey of literature. It means survey of previous studies or earlier studies carried out in their particular chosen domain or chosen field of research investigation. But it is not review of literature. Review of literature must contain critical review, because survey of earlier studies can be reproduced by any clerk today, because everything can be Googled and you can come to know it can be reproduced in the PhD thesis. Therefore, it will not qualify for making the thesis acceptable to the research community unless it also contains critical review of previous research studies, so that that will help you in identifying and defining the research gap. And ultimately, you'll come to know whether your chosen area of research or the area which you intend to take up is unresearched or under-researched or even over-researched. Therefore, this review of literature is very, very crucial, and it should contain critical review of literature. Then most of the research scholars lack what you call, they are unable to chalk out the conceptual framework guiding the current research study. It's a kind of blueprint, or it will give you a roadmap how to take this process further forward to arrive at a meaningful and conclusive end. It means, for example, it could be a job satisfaction or market segmentation, whatever it is, any topic. In that way, we require two definitions. One is conceptual definition, what it is and what is not, so that everyone will understand in the same way as decided by the researcher. So conceptual foundation or the conceptual meaning of various key terms used in the title and also in the entire thesis must be clearly described. Then the other definition is operational definition. Operational definition is that definition which will clarify about the process of measuring and assessing that phenomenon in practice in a real life research context. Therefore, conceptual and operational definitions are very, very important in our roadmap. Ultimately, as Stephen R. Covey rightly said in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in your mind before you begin your research process. Understand what is your ultimate aim. What is the central purpose of pursuing your doctoral research? Otherwise, you will be groping in dark. You'll be missing the wood and all those things, So it means I cannot see the forest because of trees. That kind of conceptual ambiguity, all those things are there. Again, Stephen R. Covey says, everything will be created twice in this world. First in your mind, next in the physical world. Therefore, we need to be very clear about what we are trying to do. Then most of the research scholars are unable to highlight the significance of pursuing the doctoral research in their current domain. It means justification for having taken up a particular area or particular topic. So it means ultimately we must be in a position to put forth our own contributions in the end in the form of implications and other utility component. And while using statistical tools and techniques, the scholars must be very careful about the relevance, because when you open up SPSS software, you will come across more than 1,000 tests. It happens in many times, analysis by paralysis. indiscriminately using statistical tools and techniques. We are complicating the entire process. Sometimes a particular test is not required. For the heck of it, we are using it, and confusion gets confounded, and we are creating unwanted confusion in the entire process. Therefore, whether a particular test is required, whether it is suitable based on our research design, whether it will assist the researcher in simplifying and communicating the research findings to the larger audience, that's very, very important. That makes a lot of sense. Then another important gray area or a troublesome area is formulation and testing of research hypothesis. I have come across some scholars who will be in a position to formulate and define the research hypothesis after completing their PhD writing, thesis writing. It's a kind of backward induction. It shouldn't happen like that, because based on inductive logic or deductive logic, we must be able to formulate the research hypothesis. Formulation of research hypothesis must indicate the sources from where we are getting the hypothesis. Normally, while adjudicating the thesis, we want to know, where did you get the hypothesis from? Whether it is from the theoretical framework, because the theoretical framework, you will come across several propositions. All propositions cannot be converted into hypothesis. Testable hypothesis must be relevant to our current field of investigation. Then accept, reject decision. Then linkage of these hypotheses to our research questions, objectives, the research methodology. Then in the last chapter, normally we would like to know the summary of your hypothesis, the inferences drawn, the implications for the research community. Sometimes we may concur with the previous research findings, all right. If you reject the hypothesis based on the statistical testing, and you do not concur with the previous research findings as indicated by the review of literature, then you must clearly specify the cross findings, and because of what reasons you are not getting the concurrent results as indicated by the previous researchers. So probably because of this or that, we must be indicating what you call convincing reasons for getting mixed findings or contradictory result findings as compared to the research findings of the previous researchers. Then the layout of the thesis or the chapter schemes. Normally, a good thesis will contain some 7 chapters. A bulky thesis may contain 9 chapters. A very minimum thesis may contain 5 chapters. Whatever it is, the ideal thesis, as per the standard norm, it should be within 275 pages to 300 pages. Otherwise, we call it a bulky thesis when it exceeds 300 pages, because a good thesis must be qualitatively sound. To justify the quality, there should be quantity, so that we can substantiate the entire process and the results of the findings, immediate result, and the end outcomes of our research investigation. To cut the long story short, as far as the chapterization or the layout of the thesis is concerned, normally I say that there should be a meaningful beginning, constructive middle, and conclusive end. Sometimes in the thesis you don't find all the 3. That will create only heat but no light. Therefore, it should be a balanced thesis so that it can make a lot of sense. Then the last chapter, we would like to see, are you giving any directions for future or further research? Because you depend upon previous researchers while performing review of literature. So you picked up the baton from the previous researchers, and in a relay race, you have to leave the baton at the end by indicating certain specific directions for further research or future research based on your own research experience. That's very, very important. Then also we want to know what is the scope of your research investigation. Definitely every research investigation has got inherent limitations. These limitations will serve as opportunities for further research by future researchers. Invariably, while defining the scope of your research and also indicating certain limitations or inherent defects applicable to all kinds of research, you must also indicate the utility of your research. And ultimately, theory, research, and practice are analogous to a three-legged stool. One without the other is totally meaningless and atrocious. Your research contributions must be able to fine-tune the existing theoretical models. It must also indicate the original research contributions, and it must advise the practitioners how to improve upon their management practice so that your research will become more useful and more relevant than ever before. And in the last chapter, we would like to see the conclusion. What are our concluding remarks based on your experience? Ultimately, what I'm trying to impress upon you is that, PhD is only a license to do research. Once you obtain your doctoral research in a systematic and scientific manner, then it is not the end of your academic journey. Ultimately, we are embracing lifelong learning because we are in the community of practice and we are living in a learning society. Therefore, continuous learning, improvement, and development should be our virtue. The moment we get doctorate, it should be used properly for the betterment of the society at large. And we must also guide the research scholars and others who are badly in need of the assistance. And another confession of mine, based on my small research experience, is that, there is no perfect researcher in this world. Just like there is no perfect driver in this world, you cannot expect perfection from any researcher. As a matter of fact, then a researcher should focus on not perfection, but excellence. As Aristotle has rightly said, excellence is not an act, but a habit. We have to put our best foot forward to make things happen in the way it is required. Therefore, the point is, PhD is not the end of your academic journey. It's only the beginning. Therefore, we have to focus more on meaningful research publications in refereed. It means double-blind review, or at least in reputed journals. Don't keep quiet after obtaining PhD, because if you keep quiet or if you're academically dormant after obtaining PhD, you are doing more damage than any good to the academic community. Sorry to say that. Therefore, you have to engage in academic activities, particularly applying for research projects with the help of the funding agencies, and bringing out some research publications, and participating in seminars, workshops, and conferences, so that you can make your points very clear and you can make your contributions reach larger audience, so that it will create both heat and light in the academic world. Before applying for research projects, you must know where you are good at. It means unless you think in terms of identifying a particular area where you can contribute substantially, there is no point in approaching funding agencies. Then you must be oriented, and also you must be made aware of available funding agencies, their funding norms, their recommendations and restrictions. We should fall in line with the mainstream, and we must get proper guidance from the senior faculty and senior researchers as to how to write the project proposals. Otherwise, there is a rigorous process of screening project proposals nowadays, and the National Education Policy 2020 talks about a rigorous screening of research proposals, so that only the deserving people will get funding, and the research will be very meaningful, societally useful, and help the research community. Therefore, research guidance, it means, you will also apply for recognition for becoming a research guide. Then research guide and research supervision is neither a child's play nor Sunday gardening. It requires a lot of commitment on the part of the research supervisor, not only on the part of the research candidate or the researcher, but more importantly on the research guide. Sometimes the research methodology workshops are required for the research supervisors. That is what I earnestly feel. That is the requirement today. So it means research guidance is a kind of teamwork. The research guide should motivate the researcher and get motivated, get inspired. It's always a two-way traffic. That is what, three things are very, very important in research. That's a teamwork, I told you already. So it means IAP. I means inspiration, A means aspiration, P means perspiration. The research scholar and the research guide must be inspired to do a meaningful, ethically sound, and qualitative research piece, research contribution. This inspiration must be connected to the aspiration of the researcher, so that the researcher, he or she, will gear up to turn out a good piece of research work. All these things will require what you call perspiration, perseverance, high quality of endurance, so that you can continue to perform in the way it is required. So inspiration, aspiration, and perspiration. No pains, no gains. That should be the things, because sometimes in the research scholars will be always after shortcuts without knowing that they will cut them short. Therefore, the process of doing research is more important than the result of the research contribution. Therefore, we should be very much concerned about the rigorous process of pursuing the doctoral research, because sometimes, the research scholars lack higher order critical thinking skills, and they also require mentoring by the research guide or somebody else. And independent thinking is required, because you will get the data, primary data or secondary data. It should be converted to information later on into knowledge, and knowledge into wisdom. So it means research scholars must interact with fellow researchers and other research supervisors and the research community through discussions and dialogues, but never entertain arguments, because arguments will create only heat but no light. And ultimately, relationship management is very, very important. Sometimes, as Vice Chancellor, many scholars apply for change of guides. Sometimes guides will complain about their researchers. And so many things, there are certain gray areas. Ultimately, what we are trying to say that, relationship management is very, very important. Today, management is nothing but relationship management. All said and done, candidate and research supervisor should not become strange bedfellows. They should become constructive partners in producing a meaningful, ethically sound, qualitative, socially relevant, contemporary piece of research work. Ultimately, that requires what I always tell about competency of the research guide and the competency of the researcher. So it means KASHV, KASHV. K stands for knowledge, A means attitude, S means skills, requisite and relevant skill mix, H means habits, V means values. So K means domain-specific application-oriented knowledge, A means positive mental attitude, then S means requisite research skills. Skills are very, very important. Should acquire and build on the existing skills. You have to hone the skills and fine-tune the skills, so that you can do your research in the meaningful manner. Then the habits of engaging in the research process are very, very important. Are we cultivating right habits, or are we following a wrong path? The choice is ours, and we have to be very careful about cultivating positive result-oriented research habits. And finally, V is nothing but values, because values left in our researchers will touch their destiny more than valuables left to them. That should be born in our mind, so that KASHV will convert any qualified researcher into competent researcher, any qualified recognized guide into a competent research guide. Then, to conclude, I say now, any research process, whether it is doctoral research or any other research process, must be time-bound and target-oriented. Otherwise, you will not be able to conclude it. Your research investigation must have a timeline, so that you will not be missing the target, and you can do it in a very systematic and scientific manner. And you should also reach the larger audience, because after obtaining your PhD degree, your PhD thesis must be fine-tuned, and it should be published in the form of a reference book so that it will reach the larger audience. It should not be preserved in only archives, so that it will reach. And in the end, ultimately, all said and done, be positive, believe in yourself, and two things are very, very important, two attributes. One is adaptability or flexibility with the changing times, based on the changing circumstances. Unless we fine-tune ourselves, we will not be fit and fine to perform the process. Then another one is agility, rising from the ashes, like a phoenix bird. We will come across several odds against us. Sometimes, we feel like dropping the idea of continuing our research endeavor, research activity. We will find fault with others. Enemy always lies within. You are the creator of your own destiny, as Swami Vivekananda rightly said. So it means agility is very, very important. Even in times of crisis or difficulties, adversity quotient is very, very important. COVID-19 pandemic taught us this very important point. Today, it is not IQ. It is not even emotional intelligence quotient. It is not even spiritual quotient. But more importantly, adversity quotient is very, very important. And adversity is nothing but, the research scholars and the research supervisors will come across several odds against us, several trying circumstances. Under such things, without losing their heart, they should rise from the ashes, and they should continue to perform in the way it is required. Therefore, we should not miss the rigor of doing a good quality of research work. Best wishes to all the participants who joined on the virtual mode. I congratulate and again commend the efforts of the organizers, particularly Dr. Sridhar Shetty and his team. Thank you very much for your time and opportunity. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wishes and your words of wisdom. You have explained
Thank
the
you.
entire research journey for being a budding researcher to a PhD scholar to being a guide in the most lucid manner, highlighting the various facets of research methodology, focusing on research ethics, chapterization in PhD thesis, and the recent developments, challenges in research. Sir, your acronyms that you shared will remain with all the participants throughout life. Your rich experience and confessions will surely give a clear roadmap to our participants to take their research to its logical end and make it outcome based and not output based. We researchers will strive for excellence and competency and contribute towards a fruitful and healthy research community. With this, I invite Dr. Liji Santosh, Vice Principal and IQAC Coordinator, to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Very good morning to all of you. After listening to Sir's speech, it's an honor for me to propose vote of thanks on this occasion of virtual research methodology workshop sponsored by ICSSR and organized by IQAC of our college. So on behalf of IQAC of Band Sangha's SM Shetty College of Science, Commerce and Management Studies, we thank Professor Dr. Subramanya Edapadithaya, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, for accepting our institute invitation as a keynote speaker and chief guest and setting the right theme for this workshop. Sir, it's like a dream coming true for us. Listening to you speaks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
And especially inspiration, aspiration, and perspiration. No one should leave these words. Truly, sir, your words of wisdom will go a long way for our aspiring researchers of tomorrow. Heartfelt thanks to and gratitude to our management, headed by our chairman for our education committee, P.R. Shetty, for encouraging us in all our endeavors. We express our gratitude to our vice chairman, Ratnagar Shetty Munpur, Vice Chairman Vasant N. Shetty Palimar, Secretary C.S. Uttam Shetty, and Treasurer C.A. Jagadish Shetty for their motivation towards this program. We are deeply grateful to WRC ICSSR Mumbai for funding this 10 days research methodology workshop. We owe to Professor Dr. Smita Shukla, Honorable Director, WRC ICSSR, for considering our application and funding this program. We thank all our resource persons across the nations who are truly resourceful to deliver the right knowledge to these participants who are registered for the workshop. We acknowledge and thank the presence of Dr. Sandeep Singh, General Manager, Academics and Administration, for his constant support for the event. We thank our principal, Dr. Sridhar Shetty, for his encouragement and support throughout from planning to execution of the workshop. We thank our Vice Principal and Head of the Department of Accountancy and Financial Management, Professor Sandesha Shetty, for his support and guidance. We thank our participants across the nation and the globe for showing interest in the workshop and registering for the same. This 10 days workshop will be truly fruitful for the research, for your research in the days to come. I truly thank our IQAC team for all the support all the time. Special thanks to our technical support team and their everlasting support for all the workshops we held in the college. We thank our teaching, non-teaching staff and some of the students participants for their valuable time and contribution for making this event, inaugural event, as successful. Thank you and looking forward for a wonderful learning sessions and a joyful session in the days to come. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So participants, kindly note, we have the first session at 11:45 today. So we have a short break. The link will be on. So if you want, you can take a break and come back by 11:30 so that we can start the session on time. Niji ma'am, any more announcements?
We can stop YouTube recording
Yes,
for the time being now.